Hi Sagittarius, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. Hope you guys are having a good holiday season and new year. This is your 2026 year ahead overview. And the way it works is we'll look at each of the 12 houses of the zodiac, starting with your sign as the first house. And after that, we'll actually pull an oracle card from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. As far as the main tarot deck being used, we have the Tarot of the New Vision, and we're actually going to start the reading off our own those astrology dice we have off to the right there. So let's do that now. All right, we have Virgo. So Virgo is your 10th house of career and social status. We still have the South Node there, but other than that, no significant big transits coming to mind specifically in Virgo this year. But yeah, given that it's career and social status, and actually see a big Virgo energy in your second house, definitely just be saying you might have more of a focus on your career this year. All right, we have 7. So 7th house energy for you guys is Gemini. In general, 7th house could point to partnerships, relationships, so can be romantic, but also business-related types things as well. And as far as the main 7th house energy you guys are going to be dealing with, we will have Uranus moving back into Gemini around the end of April, and it'll be there for years. So definitely impact that area of life for you guys for sure. Maybe some sudden changes there. And yeah, speaking of which, we were just saying that you're going to have Uranus back in your 7th house toward the end of April, but for the time being, it's still in Taurus, which is your 6th house of work, health, daily routines, and could be some change around that as well. And those two energies line up with what we have in the main spread. So we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread, but let's start with the first house. All right, first house energy, we have the Fool. So yeah, so this could just be saying that you guys are really going to just embrace some more adventurous energy this year. Now, generally speaking, the Sagittarius archetype can be a little bit adventurous to begin with, right? But maybe that's been a little bit more muted for you guys with some of the transits that have been going on in recent years. But I feel like this is saying this year you will be more prone to embrace that energy once again. Second house energy, we have the Hermit. So second house in general points to possession, self-worth, finances. So yeah, this could just be saying that you might be getting a little bit more serious about that area of life, right? Maybe you're going to be a little bit more discerning, right? Maybe you're going to be a little bit smarter about how you spend your money, right? How you invest your resources, your time, your energy. So that could be something that you guys could be looking at this year. Like we said, we saw the Virgo energy in your dice as well. So it looks like that would be a good approach to help you financially this year. All right. In the third house, we have the 7 of Cups. So this is Scorpio energy here. And yeah, if we look at this, 7 of Cups can definitely point to some level of confusion. So definitely something to be mindful of there as far as, maybe your communication won't come across as clearly as you'd like at times this year. And I do have to say, maybe it could be how you impact others with the way you're communicating as well, right? So like I said, if you're embracing more of this adventurous, lighthearted energy, right, maybe others would struggle to see things from your perspective as far as that goes, right? Because as we see, things can be a little heavy from time to time around the world, right? So maybe if you're embracing a lighter, more playful perspective and you're expressing that to others, they might struggle to wrap their minds around how you're doing so. All right. In the fourth house, we have the 3 of Pentacles. So this is Capricorn energy here. And that actually is your second house of finances, self-worth. So looking at this here, it could just be saying, given that fourth house energy points to home, roots, family, and maybe you guys are going to be investing a lot of time, energy, and possibly resources in general, maybe financial, right, into your home environment. So maybe you're going to be beautifying your home. Maybe you're going to be looking for a new home that you just feel more drawn to. But yeah, it looks like you're definitely going to be putting some investment into that area of life for sure. And you're going to be happy with the end result. So that's a positive too. Fifth house energy, we have the 9 of Wands. So this is actually a Sagittarius energy here. So for those of you, especially if you have your main Sagittarius placement in the middle, 10 degrees of your sign, then you might feel this a little bit more strongly. But the Nine of Wands in general could point to feeling being a little bit stuck, right? Like you feel like as soon as you clear one thing, there's another obstacle in your way, right? So it could just be one of those things where you might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed. So maybe your creativity will struggle from time to time. When that might be a little bit more prone to happen is when we have Venus retrograde in Scorpio, which is your 12th house. So that's going to be from October through mid-November. So you might be feeling that energy a little bit more around that time, but you just might feel it in and out throughout the year. So you might feel like, it's a little bit harder for you to focus on creative projects, right? Maybe you feel like they're not getting off the ground quite the way you would have hoped, right? Maybe because the way you're communicating is confusing to people. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing with that. In the sixth house, we have the Six of Swords. So yeah, sixth house is work, health, daily routines. So to me, this says that anything that you're not really feeling is for your highest good in those areas of life, you're going to be distancing yourselves from them. So, when we saw Uranus come up with the dice and we were saying how currently it's still in your sixth house, and I was saying, yeah, Uranus energy can be more of a liberating energy. It could force you to move away from things that maybe you thought you wouldn't have previously. So seeing that energy there, and like I said, it's still going to be in that house until the end of April. It could just be saying that maybe you will distance yourselves from something that maybe, had a hold on you for a long time, but you realize ultimately isn't for your highest good. And maybe given that this is an Aquarius energy, it could be pointing to the timeline as well, right? Maybe saying that you might be more prone to leave something behind late January through mid-February. All right. In the seventh house, we have death. So that's what I was thinking of when I saw the seventh house energy come up for you guys and Uranus, right? Saying how Uranus is going to move in there. Like I just mentioned with the sixth house, it could be an energy of liberating, distancing yourselves from things that maybe you didn't think you would have previously. So I could see this playing out a couple of different ways for some of you. This could just be saying that maybe for those of you who are in a committed partnership, you might be leaving it behind. I don't think that's as likely. What I feel it might be a little bit more likely is these other two scenarios. And one could be maybe if you had a vision of building a long-standing committed partnership with someone, you might actually be leaving that behind this year, right? Maybe you start to realize that, okay, maybe that's not as realistic of a hope as you might have thought initially. So that's one way it could be playing out. And then for others, you just could just be saying that in general, right? Maybe you, for a long time, you had this goal of, oh, I want to be in a committed relationship, right? And now maybe this year you're like, yeah, I'm not really as worried about that anymore, right? So it could just be saying not even just related to a specific person, but just this, you might have had this goal of, oh, I want to be in a committed partnership, right? I want to be married or whatever. And this year you could be saying, not really as concerned about that anymore. All right. In the eighth house, we have the Ten of Wands, so more Sagittarius energy here. So for those of you maybe with your main Sag placement in the last 10 degrees of Sagittarius, you might feel this part a little bit more. But eighth house in general points to death, rebirth, intimacy, investments. So those areas of life might feel a little bit heavy for you guys this year, right? So like we just mentioned with the relationships, right? Maybe you're distancing yourself from the concept of really caring about that, right? So then, yeah, maybe that would have a certain weight on intimacy, right? If you're moving away from maybe work environments that you didn't feel served you anymore, right? Then maybe that could impact how you invest, right? But yeah, it could just be saying that you might feel like there's a lot going on in that area of life, and it could be a little overwhelming at times. But ultimately, I feel like this is saying you do have the ability to push through it. And this could just be saying that you're close to being on the other side of those obstacles as well. All right. In the ninth house, we have the Four of Chalices. So seeing this here, it could just be saying that, maybe as you get out and explore, right, maybe you're not going to have a huge connection with where you go, right? Maybe if you interact with different philosophies that maybe maybe you're just out of curiosity. You're like, oh, let me see whatever philosophies are out there, right? Maybe like, these don't really suit me very well. Could just be one of those things where as you get out and explore a little bit more, that might actually be what could be the connection here of why we're seeing it looks like you're going to be investing more into your home environments this year, because you might find that, okay, as you do go out and explore, right? Maybe again, like I said, it looks like you're gonna have this desire to do so. You might actually realize that your home environment's a little bit more comfortable than you might have realized. All right, in the 10th house, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So, seeing this here, given that 10th house in general points to career and social status, and for you guys that is Virgo, like we said, we saw that come up with the dice as well. Could just be saying that maybe there's going to be an opportunity to change that area of lives for you guys. So for some of you, it could be as simple as an idea coming to you, right? So maybe you get a little creative with how you want to handle that, right? Maybe you might decide to, like we said, maybe you're leaving a work environment that you didn't find suited you anymore. I feel like this is saying you're going to get some, at the very least, some good insights on where you could go next as far as your career goes. And for some of you, yeah, this could represent an actual tangible offer being made. But I feel like in some way you're going to have to take action on it. All right. In the 11th house, we have the Ace of Chalices. So Ace of Cups energy here. So yeah, so when it comes to your friendships, your groups that you associate with, I feel like this is saying that there's going to be some opportunities there, right? So maybe they're going to be a blessing for you guys in that regard, as far as maybe they just might happen to say just the right thing at the right time, right? And that sparks creativity in you. And maybe that could be what leads you to say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I can do this thing for a career, right? Things along those lines. But either way, I feel like this is saying that when you're dealing with your groups, friendships, you're actually going to feel at home and feel just a nice flow state with those people. Speaking of which, in the 12th house, we have the Two of Chalices, so Two of Cups energy here. And yeah, this could just be saying that ultimately, maybe on the more spiritual side of things, you might feel like you have a meeting of the minds with someone, right? So maybe you find someone, like I said, maybe when you're communicating with some people, they might not necessarily get where you're coming from, right? Like I said, maybe philosophies that you explore and you're like, these aren't really a good fit for me, right? But you might actually end up coming across someone who does have a very similar viewpoint to you, right? And you do feel, okay, I finally feel seen, I finally feel heard, right? So that's definitely something that you guys could be experiencing this year. Now, we still do have Jupiter in Cancer, so could just be saying as that transit wraps up, which will pretty much be through the first half of this year before it moves into Leo in July. Could just be saying that that could be the time when you could come across a connection like this. Yeah, especially given that this is a Cancer energy too, and like we mentioned, basically it'll be moving out of Cancer in early July, so definitely looks like in the first half of the year you might be more prone to come across this connection. But overall, like I said, it looks like a meeting of minds. Now, of course, when people see Two of Cups, their mind first goes to love connections, but again, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Where, like I said, maybe it's just someone who shares a very similar viewpoint to you, and you feel very comfortable with them. All right. Bottom of the deck, we have the Four of Wands. So this is an interesting energy to see here because, like I said, it looks like you're going to be distancing yourselves on the one hand from, like I said, maybe the desire for a relationship, right? But that's often how they say it works, right? So when you finally do stop looking, right, all of a sudden something comes your way. So that could be what's playing out here too. So with that 12th house energy with the Two of Cups, that could be what it is, right? Where all of a sudden when you finally shift your viewpoint on, you know what, I'm not even worried about a relationship, right? So maybe it was more of a higher priority for you guys in the past. And as soon as you stop caring about it, poof, all of a sudden a good connection appears for you. So be on the lookout for that this year. But we'll see what the Oracle card has in the mix. So I'm actually going to give this a few shuffles. This is the Wisdom Oracle deck, and then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. All right, we'll take this card here and get this out of the way. And I'm making a mess with the main spread. And let's see what the card actually is. Alright, so we have yin. There's the artwork, and the number is 2. Alright, see what this has to say. Alright, essential meanings says the feminine principle of receptivity, letting someone else make the first move, gathering information and taking in cues, the art of conscious allowing. The oracle's message. This is a time of calculated receptivity as you gracefully await what is coming to you, ready to accept it when it appears. Yin does not involve frozen dreams or even resting, but rather consciously allowing things to flow to you, poised to receive the bounty that will be made available to you. It implies sensitivity as you alertly study the actions of others and contemplate how they will affect you and yours. Remember, you must make space for miracles to appear. Be the shaped, not the shaper, and you'll see how quickly your dreams manifest. So that's an interesting message there, because that could be part of what happens, right? When you embrace that fool energy, like we were talking about, where you just might be a little bit more open, right? Like I said, maybe especially around relationships, right? You're like, you know what, I'm not even worried about that anymore. And then that could actually leave you more open to those types of things coming your way. The relationship message says, let others take the lead right now. Your power lies in small gestures, self-awareness, and conscious surrender. By yielding the reins, you will find yourself effortlessly moving closer to what you truly desire. Permit others to tell you who they are and who they can be to you by allowing their actions to speak about them. You will be pleasantly surprised. So yeah, another positive message there, right? Especially if you did have this energy, maybe a bit of a rigidity around that area of life. Could just be saying that the more you do release maybe that desire to control the outcome, right? That can actually allow for things to flow more naturally. All right, and the prosperity message says this is a time when the most effective action is to allow others to show you the way forward. Observe their behavior and follow their lead. Your desire to push through must take a back seat for now. Collaborate and offer your ideas rather than dictating what must happen. Let others come to you. It's important that they feel they have power now. Another meaning is about releasing your need to have things in the form you want. How do you want to feel, basking in your success? Now allow the Now allow the universe to show you the form. Yin is the sign of essence. Things may go more smoothly than you expect. So yeah, interesting there, because like I said, generally speaking, the Sagittarius archetype is a little bit more adventurous to begin with, right? But like I said, maybe there's been some heaviness around that for you guys, and now in a way you're coming more back into your natural energy, but maybe you weren't realizing in the past that there were these blockages because of the way you were looking at things, and now as you start to feel a little bit more comfortable in your skin, that'll actually clear up some blockages for you guys. So we'll wrap up there. Hopefully that resonated with you guys, and once again, hope you guys are having a good holiday season and New Year. Bye.